that the security situation within the region as a whole and the country at large is reported to be calm and stable. So be rest assured that you are secured. National security is the measurable state of the capacity of the nation to overcome the multidimensional threat to the approach to the apparent well-being of its people. In view of the wide range of risk, the security of a nation state has several dimensions, which ranges from economic security, food security, energy, environmental, physical, border security, to name but a few. It is obvious that states differ in their approaches, and with some even beginning to prioritize non-military actions to tackle thematic drivers of insecurity. The traditional military capabilities were mainly land and sea, especially in smaller countries like ours. But in reality, national security is associated with primarily managing physical threats and with the military capabilities used for doing so. That is, national security is often understood by the capacity of a nation to mobilize its security forces to guarantee the border and to deter or defend against physical threats, including military aggressions and attack by non-state actors. National security also made provision for the protection of certain key infrastructure, which include but are not limited to like bridges, like big installations like seaports, airports, hydro dams, etc., etc. The nation states, every nation state maintain and develop the national economy, without which other dimensions of national security will be difficult to manage. Thus, a sound economic security directly influences the national security of a nation. That is why we see countries with sound economies having sound security setup. In Sierra Leone, the security of this nation lies in our hands. I mean, not only the military, not only the police, but it lies in the hands of the people. It is our collective responsibility to secure this nation. If that responsibility is left in the hands of the security apparatus only, they will find it absolutely difficult to succeed without your cooperation. So we need your cooperation to secure Mama Salone. The proliferation of small arms and light weapons is a very serious security threat. Today, we hear of armed robbery on land, piracy at sea, but all of these activities are as a result of proliferation of small arms and light weapons. But why are we having so much proliferation of small small arms and light weapons. You recall back on 24th of December 1989 when Charles Gange Taylor launched an attack on Liberia. 15 months later, Fode Seban and Sanko launched similar attack on Sierra Leone. The war in Liberia lasted for something like 14 years, and ours lasted for 11 years. During that time, there were tens of thousands of light weapons proliferated all over the place. But at the end of the conflict, there was this disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration process, which actually required the ex-combatant to hand over their weapons. For us in the house staff, we were asked to return our weapons to the armory, which we did, and all of us declared of not having any weapon or live rounds, not even an empty shell in our possession. But then, the ex-combatants I'm referring to are the RUF and the Civil Defense Force. They were numbering up to well over 40,000. How effective was the disarmament process is the first question. Was it really exhaustive? The answer is hell no. Even though, to a very large extent, one would say the disarmament process was somehow successful. But it has never happened in any part of the world. There is no place where conflict has taken place for over 10 years and you get 100% disarmament. It's not possible. Some of the weapons will be left unaccounted for. And that is so because at the end of the war, nobody could give the correct number of arms and ammunition that were in circulation. The RUF, for instance, if you ask Fode Seban and Sanko, he will not tell you how many light weapons, how many firearms in total he had. Not even the Civil Defense Force. So you find out that the proliferation is eminent in a society where there has been war. And that was compounded by our neighboring country. In fact, Liberia's own was even more serious because they had the Independent National Patriotic Front of Liberia led by Charles Gange Taylor. They had the Independent National Patriotic Front of Liberia led by Prince Yome Johnson. They had Unimo J led by Yusuf Johnson. They had Unimo K led by Alhaji Kuroma. All of these warring factions had their different chain of command, different ideologies, even though they all had political motive, but they had different ideologies. And therefore, the disarmament in these two countries, sister countries, was not effective, was not 100%. So most of the weapons that were left unaccounted for are the ones that are circulating today. And that situation is compounded by the current security situation in Nigeria and the Sahel region. You all know, some of you may be aware of what I'm talking about. So with that happening in our neighboring countries close to us, it's a cause for concern. We'll find it difficult to control it. We are trying the level best, our level best to see how best we can control it, but it is difficult. As I speak, there are certain people we believe that had their weapons hidden during the disarmament. And up to date, some of them do not even know where they buried the weapons. Sometimes we get calls. When I was at Joint Force Command Headquarters before I came here, we'll get call from the villages while people are plowing their farms, they dig easy weapons. We go and collect those weapons and hand them over to the small arms. Just quite recently, about 3 weeks ago or so, less than 3 weeks ago, one chief in within Karine district, one chief found an SMG, the equivalent to AK-47 rifle, in his cock barrel in the morning. Less than 3 weeks ago. But that weapon has been identified to be one of the weapons belonging to the police, one of the police officers that was killed in Kamakuri. But then there were 3 police officers killed. So even if there were any arms in the store, we don't know the whereabouts. So even for some of us who were in the military after the war, who were asked to return our weapons, we could not return all because some weapons had gone missing during the war. Some soldiers were killed and their weapons taken away. I personally lost my weapon, my rifle, when I was shot, and during evacuation we fell in an enemy ambush. Already I was a casualty. I had to crawl with my weapon. I threw it in the bush because I did not want to leave it in the vehicle to be taken by the enemy. I had to throw it in the bush. I don't know where that weapon is. It may have fallen in the wrong hands. But that was the best thing I could do because I couldn't carry it anymore because both legs were broken. I had to crawl. And this happened here in Makeni on Christmas Day, December 25th, 1998. I was the Brigade Defense Company commander with the Nigerians at Eko Barracks. So that is it. That's the story for some other day anyway. So we lost a lot of weapons which we could not account for at the end of the war. So these weapons are circulating. So for when I read this thing that the project is the enhancement of peace and physical security through the exchange of arms for community development. I am yet to understand that. Are we saying that people in the community should be encouraged to bring forward their weapons if they have one so that we develop the community? Is that what we are saying here? If that is it, then it's a very laudable venture. If it becomes successful, it will be fine. But the implementation phase of it is where I have problem. Because if we are in a community, for instance, let's say all of us here belong to a community. And in this community, I have my personal rifle. Illegally, I'm possessing weapon. You have yours. You have yours. Maybe 5 of us have weapons. If we say somebody should give weapons for the development of the community, I know if I keep my weapon and you give yours, they will develop the community and I still will have my weapon. I will keep it. I will not give it. But I know the donor agencies, whosoever donate their monies, they will tell you how they want their monies to be used. So I know you did not coin that, but probably it must have been designed like that before you were tasked to implement. I really have no idea. I want to know. That is why I'm making a statement at the same time asking a question. I'll be grateful if at some point you come up and answer this one so that I'll get a clear picture of what is happening. So, I think if you ask me, if we are to actually achieve what we want to get, our aim is to collect the weapons that are hidden, right? To get as much as we could. Therefore, if we are to do that effectively, I think we need to attach some individual benefit to it. That is to say, you bring your weapon, you get this Okay. You bring 2, you get double. So you find out that even if you'll be surprised to see somebody coming with his own weapon and then going to steal his uncle's weapon to bring so that he can benefit. But if we say you come